to Young and Empower, where we hope to shine some light on some of the city's most inspiring individuals. Today we have with us Dr. Gina Kyler, president and co-founder of the Black Physicians Network. I must say that I do admire your work. We'll start with that. I admire what you're doing for our community. I admire what you're doing for African American Black individuals and just the minority as a whole to be able to give us something inspired too. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, how this idea of the Black Physicians Network came to be?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me here. I was born in Panama in Central America, and I came to New York after my dad died when I was 4. And I grew up in poverty. My mom was a housewife. She finished high school. But back then, you got married, you had kids, and that was your life. When my dad died, she had to provide for us. And so she heard America was the land of opportunity.
Oh, hey.
She sold the house, she sold the car, and we came with our 2 suitcases to New York City.
Wow.
She spoke some English, and she worked 2 jobs during the week, a day job, an evening job, and a part-time job on the weekend, and told me that my job was to go to school and learn. We didn't have anything other than our minds, and education was a path to the future for me.
So you definitely understand the struggles that an immigrant can have come into a new country with nothing. In my case, I remember coming with almost practically, I'm amazed. I haven't heard that story from you many times that we have taught that we share that in common. You know what I mean? Coming into a new place where you know nothing, you know no one, and you're just trying to grow up and you're trying to build. And I'm pretty sure your time is different than my times. I mean, at least I have people like you that help me overcome and be guided. You know what I mean?
Yes,
I can only imagine how you had to pioneer through all of this to be able to shape a road, create a road, and now come back and the way I like to put it, grab and say, hey, this is the way. You know what I mean?
You have to. We, you know, it was difficult. My mom, I grew up Catholic, and, you know, my mom tried to provide a good education for me by sending me to Catholic school in the beginning. But, you know, it cost a lot, and it was a struggle for her, and ultimately I had to go to public school because she just couldn't afford it. And it was very, very challenging. I, you know, had a mom who didn't understand the American educational system, and from the time I was 4, I told her that I wanted to be a physician, which is quite the challenge when you don't know any physicians. No one in your family has ever been a physician.
What made you want to become? Did you see something on TV? Did you just click?
I never tell you. I feel like it was God's will for me. That was just something. I came in this world with my heart for that. And, you know, maybe, I guess, if you look at it from a psychological standpoint, my dad died, you know, when I was small. Maybe in the back of my mind, I felt helpless and, you know, wanted to help. And maybe that forged my desire to be a physician.
Maybe you wanted just to understand the human body, you understand, or be able to help people and be able to heal people.
Yes.
But now I see that you're healing people in a completely different way.
Yes.
Which is the way I see it. You're healing people through their mind.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Trying to change people's perspective I feel that it must be so much easier to be able to do open heart surgery than it is to change an individual's way of thinking.
It is, because, you know, it has been said that perception unchallenged is reality. And there are a lot of people that don't perceive opportunities in their lives. And that's the whole goal, is to help people be able to understand that these opportunities are there. And not only tell them that it's there, but show them how they get from point A to point B. When I came up, I didn't have anybody to help me, and so I had to ask. I missed a lot of opportunities. I didn't know what the next step was, and I always felt like I was trying to catch up.
Did you go through any program, or was it you just straight out student loan did, or how did you actually?
When I was in high school, I learned that if you worked really hard and got good grades, that you could get a scholarship to college.
Free money, the way I call
it.
Free money for being smart.
And so when you have no money, you learn very quickly that you need to maximize all your options.
All your resources.
And what I did is I studied really hard. I, didn't go hang out with friends. I took every test, asked every question, and tried to learn as much as I could. And I got a full academic scholarship to NYU, New York University.
So something that I would like to pick out of that whole statement is you didn't go out much. You barely had any friends. You didn't until you had the sacrifices that you've had to made in your social life weren't immense to be able to get you to where you are today.
Yes.
As a doctor, as a physician, and as a role model now to a lot of people. You know what I mean?
Delayed gratification is a term that I learned later in life, but that really is what I was practicing then. Delayed gratification is putting off some immediate pleasure right now so that you can have something greater and of more value later.
The way I put it in my simplistic form was, if I want to eat steak later, I might as well eat chicken now. I can't be going out there and buying steak all the time when I can't afford steak.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So let's just eat chicken for a little while.
That's right.
And let's, you know what I mean, and save our money, and eventually, you know what I mean, things will pan out.
That's right.
So,
and it's that much more rewarding when you've made that sacrifice.
so what was the word that you used? The delay?
It's called delayed gratification.
So how does that play into the now is like not a new term, not a new term probably, but a term that's been everywhere towards my generation, is the fact that we like instant gratification.
That's right.
Do you feel like
There's a complete change in the thinking. You know, we as a society, we like things faster. And, you know, it used to be you'd call someone's home, and if they weren't home, you had to call back. There weren't answering machines. Then came answer machines. Then you had cell phones. Then you have email. Then you have text messages, instant messaging, everything faster, quicker. But some things in life don't come faster and quicker. Education takes time. It takes time to identify opportunities. It takes time to plan a future. Planning requires time, you know, and I think that's something that gets lost. And young people now think, well, I want to be a doctor, and they get frustrated when I can't be a doctor tomorrow. But the fact of the matter is, there's some preparation you have to do before you become a doctor. It's a journey. And so just as you know you're going to get up and go to school today, and you get up and you shower, or you put your clothes on, you get your books, you get your things, you get the items that you need, and then you have a path that you've mapped out to get to school. That's how it is to be a doctor. You have to know what you need to prepare. You know, you got to finish high school, you have to go to college, you have to think about how you're going to pay for it. You're going to have to take tests. You're going to have to miss out on social events or certain other things because you're choosing to go down this path. And that's a part of the planning for that future. You plan for 5 years, for 10 years, not just this moment. And that's the difference between delayed gratification, planning for what your life should look like 10, 15, 20 years from now, as opposed to instant gratification, which is what's going on right at this minute.
And I feel like that's something that we focus on what's going on now. How did your colleagues take this idea? Well, how did you bring it up towards your colleagues, or how did this just start growing? It was just...
Well, the reality is I had a difficult time when I was coming up in high school. We had moved to a predominantly white neighborhood when I was in high school because my mom felt the public schools were better, and they were. They had a better education, and she thought that would be a better opportunity. And I was the only black kid in the neighborhood, and at the time there was busing. The black kids were bused into this white neighborhood, and I didn't fit in. You know, I didn't come ride the bus with the other black kids into the neighborhood, and I wasn't white. So I was too black for the white kids, too white for the black kids. I never really fit in.
Yeah, okay, yep.
And it was a challenge, and so I really had to learn to just be me. And you know, when I went to NYU, well, New York City is the great melting pot, so all I had to do was just work hard. It was okay.
When you say that you didn't fit into the African or the black because you're not black enough, or to the white because you weren't white enough, are you referring to the fact that there's many individuals that may target individuals like yourself for quote unquote talking properly, or some things that I might even take as far as saying, why are you talking white?
That's right.
I've heard that before.
Absolutely.
I personally heard that before. Or because you're trying to reach a higher level of education, all of a sudden people might think that you are trying to become better than that they are.
That's right.
It almost feels like you're like crabs in a barrel type of thing. Right. It's like, hey, no, I'm not trying to become better than you. I really just would like to eat steak more often than I did when I was a child. And that's just being a metaphor as I would like my life to get better.
Yes, I would like to be the best I can be.
The best I can be. So that in itself is, again, back to the mentality aspect of things. We have to start teaching our young individuals, the young adults, and the youth that to change that mentality, change that perspective, start singling out individuals that are trying to become smart, that I'm trying to educate themselves to be able to grow the community. We can't complain about how, I never had an opportunity, I couldn't do this, I couldn't do that. But because you feel inadequate, now you go out your way to point and single out people that are trying to become adequate, people that are trying and striving and doing the sacrifices that must be done in life, especially with somebody like your background, to be able to succeed. Because we don't have the time. We don't have time to fill the course. We don't have the time to be able to go party. We don't have the time to be able to go play, because time is money.
That's right, that's right. And you know, when I got to medical school, it was even more challenging because there weren't any, we had very few black faculty, very few black physicians, and you really got a sense that, you know, you were there because you had to be there, you know, but you weren't really wanted there. And people went out of their way to not be helpful to you in many cases. There were some that tried, but you know, you never necessarily felt that you were treated fairly. Fast forward many years, and I had been practicing for over 20 years, and it was brought to my attention that a lot of the things that we went through as medical students were still going on now, and a lot of the challenges and adversity that young people were facing, that we faced when we were young, those young people now were still facing. And I realized that if I hadn't done anything to make it different, why would I have expected things to change? And that's how it really got started. I just decided